And welcome to another action-packed, exciting hour of the Smoky Mountain Rewatch Along Project. This is podcasting the way it used to be and the way you like it. This show is a production of the Something Else Podcasting Network, and it is episode number 136 of Smoky Mountain Wrestling from September 3rd, 1994, taped August 8th, 1994, from the Northwood High School in Saltville, Virginia. My name is Arya, and joining me as always is the posse member number one to my posse member number two. It's Trae. Trae, how the hell you doing today?
Couldn't you just wait a little while so I could beat D'Lo Brown?
Well, I couldn't think of anything else to do. I thought of possibly getting uh, Doug Dalton involved, but there was nobody else on the show that I could make a similar comment regarding.
Love D'Lo Brown.
D'Lo Brown is good people. We're talking about him
Yeah.
yesterday on the TNA show, and it's like I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he got that All Japan gig that obviously paid a lot more than the TNA gig did. But selfishly, I was upset because, you know, D'Lo had a bit of star power added a bit of star power to that show. He added a good match every week to that show. And unfortunately for me, like again, purely selfish reasons, All Japan is obviously a lot more important to him than his 1 week or 1 day a week in TNA.
He had to go roughly obsess and destroy.
Yes, yes. And who was all in that group? I know it was him and Jamal, and who else was in that?
Taka Michinoku, Bull Buchanan, uh,
Taka's always
Gigante,
it. Like, mhm.
Gigantes, who was the Wall, Malice, Jerry Tweet. Rico was in there for like a tour. Taokea. Yeah, that's all I can remember.
Taka's always like in the most random groups too.
He
You
was
know,
like the leader of the group, I think. I always got that impression anyway.
I just remember when I started watching New Japan in 2013, 2014. There was him, Yuji Nagata, and I think Nakanishi was still around. And I'm like,
Hmm.
this is all like early to mid 90s American promotion people. Because
Hmm.
uh Manabu was Kurosawa, and then Yuji Nagata had a run as a jobber in WCW, and Taka was the first light heavyweight champion before he more or less became a jobber
Remember when he got thrown out of the 2000 Royal Rumble multiple times until the big boss man threw him and he landed on his fucking face?
until he face planted. Yes, and that was the joke because him and Funaki and the Mean Street Posse weren't even in that Royal Rumble. Plus,
Yeah,
didn't one of the Mean Street Posse kick one of the other ones right in the face while they were all sliding into the ring?
don't remember that. I think everybody remembers that Taka bump.
Oh yeah, because they replayed it 10 million times. They basically replayed it every time Taka was going to come out. And of course, Jerry Lawler. I, I never know how much to point and say Jerry Lawler is this or that, and how much of it is yes, someone yelling in his ear. But he kept calling Taka Chinese the entire night, and it's like he's not Chinese.
It just strikes me as
And
something Jerry Lawler would think was funny.
yeah, but especially when you read his book, there's a lot of stuff that he found funny that Vince also found funny. They had very similar senses of humor.
It's probably why he was on commentary for years and years.
Well, I think also because, he went and had plastic surgery, so he didn't look as old as he actually was. And well, Vince was getting rid of JR because he was old. Because, I don't know about you, but when I turn on my wrestling shows, I want my announcers to be aesthetically pleasing to me.
I I'm going to take a controversial stance here. I guess I don't know. It may just be a common sense stance. Jerry Lawler was never a good announcer. And like, unless you were like me when I was 13 or Vince McMahon to this day and have the sense of humor of a 13-year-old boy. I also thought he was funny when I was 13, but I grew up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I grew tired of him. Everyone grew tired of him when Paul Heyman came in and, was a much better commentating team
Oh,
with JR. But
so much better.
to me, because like I was still at that end of the man, my childhood was the greatest thing ever.
Gay people
And
win.
so I went Jerry Lawler. It was probably 02, 03 when the puppies thing got really fucking annoying.
And if you go back and watch old like Lawler promos from Memphis, he wasn't as absurd, but like some of the shit he would say, you would see where that guy came from.
Yeah. And you ever wonder, because his Hall of Fame induction, he didn't want to be inducted because he felt it was for old people, you know, fill in your jokes right here. And so he basically turned his whole induction into a joke. You ever wonder if like he regrets that and wishes he could get a do-over?
I doubt Lawler regrets anything. He seems very satisfied with his life.
I always thought it was funny that like, they would always have to have a printout. Like when he'd come back once a year, because he always seemed to come back once a year to do this, that, or the other thing. Like, and especially when he'd be doing the Royal Rumble, they'd have to give him a printout of what all the people look like because he doesn't watch the show. And so he'd have no idea who the hell anybody was. And oh Lord. Well, we're allegedly not here to talk about Jerry Lawler today. We're here to talk about Smoky Mountain Wrestling. We are
Although
official.
there will come a time that we talk about Jerry Lawler on Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Yes, that is coming up. It's either the very end of this year or the very beginning of 95. But we are in the last third of 1994. And it's funny because like so I don't know why, but like especially when the year turns over, my head gets all fucked up about what time of year I am for each show. Because like obviously, Mid-South and TNA and World Class, it's X number of years to the day ago. But Smoky Mountain, because of when I actually started doing the show, we're about 3 months off, 4 months off. And it's like I keep telling myself, man, we're in the last year of Smoky Mountain. But it's like, no, we're not quite there yet. We still have a few months away from that.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yep. And it's sad because, it's like this show remains pretty good. And then when it falls off a cliff, it really falls off a cliff. And part of me really cannot wait for to go over those shows with you.
I can't wait.
All right, well, let's go to the intro of this week's show with Bob Caudle and Les Thatcher.
Welcome to another exciting, action-packed hour of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Professional wrestling the way it used to be and the way you like it. Hi, wrestling fans. Bob Cole along with Les Thatcher. Another great hour, Les. We really got it to send the fans' way. We're going to see Tracy Smothers in action. Big Bruiser Bedlam's going to be here. And that's just two of them.
Exactly. And, of course, our big main event's going to be R&R, Rock and Roll Express, taking on the Gangstas, Bob. And we've got a video package showing how this encounter came about. But also, we've got a new Beat the Champ.
Oh, that's right. Lance Storm is our new Beat the Champ champion. So we got to have an opponent for Lance during this hour. Also, who we got, Les? Draw us out a name there and get us a good one so we get a good match here.
Chris Hamrick's going to square off with Lance Storm, and I Beat the Champ. So all in all, a super hour, Bob.
All right, fans, we're about ready. Let's go to the ring.
Chris Hamrick in like his 50th or 60th shot at the Beat the Champ title. Um, it feels like one of those guys. He always gets a shot about every 3 to 4 weeks,
So once a taping.
give or take. Yes. Um, and then we're also going to get. I don't know. I guess I just didn't look ahead to see what the matches were on the future shows. I was a little surprised. We're getting the Rock and Roll Express versus the Gangsters today in the main event.
Boy, are we.
Yes, yes, we are. I gotta say, which do you think is funnier when Bob Caudle says the Gangstas or when Les says the Gangsters?
Uh, uh, Bob saying the Gangstas is very funny to me.
It is, but it's like I don't know. It seems a whole lot whiter when Les calls them the Gangsters. Like,
Bob's facial expressions when New Jack does his promos are amazing. He is. I'm sorry, Bob. You were a lovely man. He was so uncomfortable, and I just like. I think the promos are fantastic, and seeing them make an old white man uncomfortable was very funny to me.
and like Cornette could have had less to do all these promos. Cornette was doing that on purpose because, not just Cottle's an old white guy, but because Cottle also worked for what's his name in North Carolina.
Jesse
You know,
Helms, Senator Jesse
yeah,
Helms.
yeah. It's like it was very clear that Bob Cottle was not a fan of these two young gentlemen.
And
Uh,
because Les wouldn't have sold it. Les
yeah,
was too professional. Les wouldn't have sold it. Not that Bob
no.
Caudle wasn't professional. He was just more uncomfortable than he was professional.
And I'm honestly like, spoiler, we're down to like, I think the last 6 weeks of Bob Caudle as the announcer here. Because the taping that just happened this week is his last taping, and that takes us into October.
Oh,
Um,
Bob,
yep,
we will
we
miss you.
hardly knew ye. Um, but yeah, I'm curious, like, because I imagine JR will take over being the, at the desk interview guy. So I'm kind of curious how that'll go with JR and the Gangstas. Like JR will obviously be a lot more professional, but you know, how many times will JR reference his mama, you think?
At least a few.
We may have to keep account of that. Brian Logan versus Tracy Smothers. I didn't look this up, but does it feel like Tracy hasn't wrestled on television for what feels like months?
It kind of felt like it. Yeah, he didn't
I mean,
wrestle very long here.
yeah, he did the not Fire on the Mountain. Well, he did Fire on the Mountain too, but he did Night of the Legends. But before that, it was mostly promos. It might have been whenever the last time he took on Bruiser Bedlam was. But anywho, Tracy won with the jawjacker.
The actual Jawjacker returned.
Yes.
He hasn't
I was
done that
thinking
in
about
even
you
longer.
I was thinking about you when he did that too. I was like, oh man, Trey's gonna have something to say here.
I did indeed. I was happy to see the Jawjacker return and be called properly.
So from here they pitch it to, and I quote, we're gonna hear some very special words with a very special person. And I originally timestamped because I'm like, oh boy, this could be nothing good is gonna come out of something labeled that. But no, it was a mentally disabled individual from the Starlight Foundation or from Philadelphia who was brought in through a wish from the Starlight Foundation. And he came in for fan week, you know. Um,
Hey, I take umbrage at you calling this young man mentally disabled. He said his favorite wrestler was Terry Funk. This is clearly young John Owen, a man of impeccable taste.
he has impeccable taste, and you do have to wonder because, on this show, Terry Funk is a heel. If he was in the WWF or WCW, how many times like they would never have aired that saying that a top heel was his favorite wrestler. They would have had him retape it saying Hulk Hogan or Bret Hart were his favorite wrestler.
But legitimately, I don't think the young man was mentally disabled. I think he had cerebral palsy.
I apologize, I did not mean to disparage young John Owen.
And Corey,
By the way,
his dog Corey, was there as well.
did they actually name the dog? I didn't. I really should have paid
Yeah,
better attention to this segment. I didn't
yeah,
hear them name the dog.
yeah. Corey. Corey was his name,
Yeah.
though.
Well, he's not the only dog on the show, I guess. So it was easy to, you know, not concentrate on it.
Do you think if,
He
if
does.
do you think if Jake Roberts were still here that he'd be friends with Corey?
I was half expecting it to be the kid that Horner brought out.
Oh God,
It was
I
not
missed that.
that kid.
I have heard the legend. I have not seen it.
Oh yeah, you didn't start till like right after that. No, that was an actual child. It was like 8, 9 years old. So it was not this guy. This guy, I don't know if he was a grown adult, but if not, he was pretty close to it.
Yeah,
Um, he,
yeah.
he did say his favorite match was a real humdinger, primetime Brian Lee and Chris Candido versus the Rock and Roll Express. And I actually, I know this is going to sound strange, but I do want to give props to Les Thatcher because he was incredibly patient. Like John Owen, whatever his disability is, it's like he was not fast on his feet with the answers to these questions. And Les
No.
did not pressure him. He didn't rush him. He asked his question and held the mic and let the guy take as long as he needed to answer.
Yeah, this was a nice thing to do. The young man,
It,
apparently it was his wish to come to Smoky Mountain Wrestling, so they brought him in for Fan Week.
yes. And they also plugged the Starlight Foundation and told
Hmm.
you the address that you could donate money to. And well, we're talking more about this than we probably will on other major promo segments on the show. Um, but from here we go to our Beat the Champ title match. It is Lance Storm with Chris Jericho in his corner against Confederate Currency Chris Hamrick. All right. So I'm always spelling Chris Hamrick's name wrong. I'm always putting an extra E in there that doesn't belong. So I decided to Google Chris Hamrick because I also wanted to find his cage match profile. And I'm going to send you, because I screenshotted it, what came up when I Googled Chris Hamrick.
I'm wondering
I,
because there are no E's in Chris Hamrick.
I was filling it Hamerick. So I just sent you the screenshot of what Google says me.
Huh. He must have had quite a tan that week. He looks like a suntan Superman.
Yes. So when you Google Chris Hamrick, you get a picture of R-Truth. I don't know how racist that is because I really don't know how racist Chris Hamrick really is. Because, his gimmick was Confederate currency and, he wore the Confederate flag, you know, on his gear. So, but that doesn't necessarily make him racist, just, possibly his character. But yeah, look up Chris Hamrick, you get a picture of R-Truth. Also, and this is what I was basically looking for, because I remembered he showed up in ECW in 2000. He actually shows up in ECW the week after Lance Storm has his last match.
Oh,
And
really?
I think this match proves why, because Lance Storm pinned him with the jackhammer. And Chris Hamrick knows that he cannot beat Lance Storm.
You know what? That sounds completely reasonable to me.
Yeah. Other than this was a very fine 2 or 3 minute match. It wasn't anything you have to go to your way to see, but it was a fun little Lance Storm Chris Hamrick match.
Indeed, I thought it was rather enjoyable myself.
Yep. We then get a replay of Chris Candido versus Lance Storm from last week. And I know we're segueing into a promo with Candido and co., but really this should have aired before the Lance Storm match. But that's just me.
Yes, I had the same thought.
Let's now go to Chris Candido, Tammy Fitch, and their dog, Boo Bradley.
All right, fans, Miss Tammy Fitch, their new partner, Chris Candido. Chris, we just got to look at what happened last week when Lance Storm won that title from you.
Don't get on my case, Bud Cole. Everybody in Smoky Mountain Wrestling's on my case. Call me suicide ball, baldy, bald-headed geek, this and that. Lance Storm, the only reason you beat me is because that idiot, that backstabber, that ingrate, that coattail riding, nothing happening, nothing going on. Brian Lee attacked me from behind. Ricky Morton, I still have a problem with you. You're still trying to get this off my head. Well, Ricky Morton, I haven't shaved your head yet, but it's going to happen. And when this comes off my head, it's only because that beautiful natural blonde hair has fully grown back. It's starting to sprout back right now, and I'm starting to look good again. So, Ricky Morton, I'm going to take care of you. Lance Storm and that idiot partner of yours, I'm going to take care of you. And Brian Lee, you backstabber! I hate you, Brian Lee! I'm gonna take care of you once and for all. I'm going to. What I want to show, ask Tammy how much she loves her.
Can you control him? That's my primary.
You know what? One thing I'm very happy about. I was worried about him chasing all the dogs away in the neighborhood. Well, he ate all the dogs in the neighborhood. He is the best thing I've ever owned. Better than Brian Lee. Couldn't control Brian Lee. I paid him to listen to me, and what does he do? He goes off and does his own thing. So now, all I know, with someone that we can take care of, someone that we can control, we're going to get revenge on Ricky Morton, the Thrill Seekers, and most of all, Brian Lee.
All right, fans, we'll be back. We'll have more right after we take this brief time out.
And I think this is before Balls Mahoney took 8 million hard chair shots to the head.
Do you think the chair shots reminded him he was a person and not a dog?
Maybe it was like when you would ring the bell around Festus. You know, if you rang the bell twice, he returned to Festus.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, maybe if Masato Tanaka would hit him one fewer times with a chair, he would have beaten Balls more often.
I think it was an odd number.
Yeah. So I had to laugh because Candido seems to be in a feud with everybody in this fucking promotion. And except for Brian Lee, they all have tag team partners. You know, he's getting after Ricky Morton, he's getting after Lance Storm, and he's getting after Brian Lee. So, you know, at least one of those aren't too bad.
Maybe Lance and Brian Lee can team.
There you go. We could have a three-way tag that's really a 4-on-2 handicap match.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. So that's coming. We got a few feuds with them all to intertwine with each other. From here we get a replay of last week's Dirty White Boy Killer Kyle match where White Boy retained the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight title, and then got beaten up by the guy he beat the week before, Bruiser Bedlam. As we noted, we're not off to the greatest start with this feud. First he beats Bruiser Bedlam clean, but then we got to get heat on the segment. We got to get heat on this angle. Like maybe we wouldn't need as much heat if we didn't beat the guy clean the week before.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to White Boy, who's got a promo to build up to his feud with the guy that he can beat.
And here he is with me right now, the Smoky Mountain champion, the Dirty White Boy. And we just got to look at what happened last week when you defeated Killer Kyle, and here comes Bruiser Bedlam.
You know, Bruiser Bedlam may be the toughest man from the docks of Detroit. Well, we're not in Detroit. We're in the South. We're in the Smoky Mountain Wrestling area, baby. And I'll be damned if any Yankee is going to come down here and take care of this old Ridge Runner. Now, you got Jim Cornette running around here. You know, Jim, back at home, we call you a mama's boy. That's right, Cornette. You're a mama's boy because you're always running around, and if things don't go your way, you want to pitch a fit. Well, you pitch all the fits you want to, big boy. Because when you walk that aisle and you lead that Bruiser Bedlam down it, and you crawl in the ring, you are going against the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight Champion. And I've said it once, I may have said it 1,000 times. I've worked long and hard to get this title. And I'm not about to let a Yankee and a mama's boy crying around down and down. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I don't do that. Because if I get my hands on you, Jim Cornette, your mama ain't going to be able to recognize you. And Bruiser Bedlam, we got a score to settle. You want to jump somebody from behind? Oh, yeah, you got fists like bricks. My rib cages are still sore. I'll see you somewhere, sometime, real soon.
Dirty White Boy fans.
I wonder how many rib cages White Boy has.
I was about to make the exact same joke.
See, it is awful. You and I are we're one. We're one and the same here. We're on the same wavelength.
We have ESPN too.
I I did thank White Boy for letting us know that this is not Detroit. It is the South. I'm not sure which is worse. Now, I've never been to Detroit, so I can't really make a fair comparison. Have you been to Detroit?
I have not.
Okay. So if anybody out there has been both Detroit and the South, let us know which is worse.
Now, what like the South is a large region, and it's like, okay, this is East Tennessee is different from, you know, Texas, East
Okay.
Texas, or North
Okay. So,
Louisiana, or you know.
so if you're out there listening to this and you've been to both East Tennessee and Detroit, let us know. And let us know which is worse. Because
Yeah,
genuinely, I'm curious. I've actually never been to Tennessee at all. You know, I don't
I've
know how much of a
been
hurry I'm in to be there, but
I've driven all the way from Memphis to Knoxville. That's all the way across the
nice.
long way.
I mean, I've heard it's a, beautiful area. Just, I have no desire to stop my car within the state limits.
I wouldn't if it was your car.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's nothing on my car that would endear me to the South. But between my Massachusetts license plate, my Buffalo Bills bumper sticker, my transgender bumper stickers, well, I got my AEW heels bumper sticker on there. There might be a heel down there somewhere.
I didn't even know a bumper sticker could be transgender.
It can be, you know. It used to be a license plate, but it identifies now as a bumper sticker. Oh boy. So yeah, white boy calls Jim a mama's boy. He's been called worse, but he will not let a Yankee and a mama's boy take the title from him. And I guess, going back, the only person who's ever beat, or the only two people who beat him for the title are Southerners, Tracy and Jake. So he's got a point. He doesn't let a Yankee beat him for the belt.
He does have a point. Yeah, that's true.
And we'll see if he's either the last Smoky Mountain champion, which spoiler alert, he's not, or if the person he loses the belt to is also a Southerner.
I can't wait to find out.
Spoiler alert, if I remember my lineage correctly, it is a Southerner.
I think I know who it is too.
Yes. I'm 99% sure. If not, I don't know who the in-between person is. But so from here we go. By the way, they're already selling Night of the Legends on VHS, which especially in modern day doesn't sound like a big deal. But considering it was months after the fact, they're like, oh, Volunteer Slam, the first Volunteer Slam is now on sale. You know, it's a pretty big deal that they already have Night of the Legends out that you can buy for $30. And with it, you get a souvenir program, you get a copy of the Smoky Mountain merchandise catalog, the thing you can get for free if you just, write in for it. And there was
Maybe
something else you
maybe they
get with
got
it.
some more VCRs.
There you go. There you go. Plus, once you take the merchandising out of Horner's hands and put it into someone competent's hands, shit gets done.
Yeah, how about that?
I know, right? Doug Dalton versus Bruiser Bedlam with Jim Cornette. I did do some research, and Doug Dalton is famous for losing to Bruiser Bedlam on September 3rd, 1994 edition of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And apparently
I
he'll also be here next week.
I saw that. I saw him lose to Bruiser Bedlam on Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Yep. Um, I felt that Bedlam apparently felt the need to work on his wind here, get some ring time on this show. Because the match only went
Yeah.
like 3 minutes, but it was like the longest Bruiser Bedlam match ever on TV. And may have been longer than all of his other matches put together.
That stomach claw is still a fucking terrible finish.
At least, he's doing it to people who know how to sell it, you know? Well, like with anything, like if you can get it over, then any finish is a good finish. Like Chris Masters, to some degree, got over the master lock. And that was more just he beat everybody with it for years and nobody ever broke it until Lashley broke it without a sweat. But it was like, you know, when Masters put the Master Lock on Cena that time in the Elimination Chamber, there was that second where like, don't fucking tell me this is how Cena loses.
It was not.
It was not. Carlito was a dumbass. But Bedlam won with the stomach claw. And I think Jim Cornette must have been manipulating the television editing because Bedlam kept on that stomach claw for longer than he should have. But before he could be disqualified for kicking too much ass, we were magically whisked away to a Jim Cornette promo segment. And Jim Cornette is outside of a building wearing a Sherlock Holmes hat and a giant magnifying glass. And he's looking for the new commissioner. Let's go to Jim now.
Pip Pip and Cheerio and all that sort of rot, old folks. It's Sherlock Cornette. Sherlock Cornette. And as everybody knows, I've been trying to find out who the new commissioner of Smoky Mountain Wrestling is, and nobody seems to want to tell me, especially Bullet Bob Armstrong. So I've made a few contacts, and I've, as a matter of fact, gotten an anonymous tip that if I wanted to do Smoky Mountain Wrestling a service, then I should come here to this address, to this location, and I'm sure, through my powers of deductive reasoning, that means that the new commissioner is somewhere inside. So what I'm going to do in just a second is I'm going to knock on this door, I'm going to find the new commissioner, and then I'm going to get him to see things my way. You know, me and him should see eye to eye on a few things around here, and that way Smoky Mountain Wrestling would be run a lot better. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the Dirty White Boy, because you see, you've already seen Bruiser Bedlam in his program, White Boy. And you know what he's capable of. But maybe you haven't fully thought, you haven't fully realized what Bruiser Bedlam can do. Just think back for a few months. Because after all, it was Bruiser Bedlam in the Knoxville Civic Coliseum back last May at the Volunteer Slam that beat Randy Macho Man Savage 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, something that few other wrestlers in the entire world of wrestling has ever done. And then, if you don't want to think about what happens in the world of the wrestling ring, think about what Bruiser Bedlam does outside of it. Think of how he trains. He's the man, for example, that is bench pressed well over 600 pounds. The strength in his arms is incredible. And for example, he's the man that likes to train for a fight by breaking beer bottles over his head, because nothing can hurt Bruiser Bedlam, least of all you, Dirty White Boy. And let's think back for a minute longer. Let's think back to the time that Bruiser Bedlam used the power in his legs to hold a truck back. The horsepower of that truck with the wheels spinning and screaming and the smoke coming out of it, and Bruiser Bedlam was strong enough, was powerful enough to hold that truck back from crushing him. Then let's think for a second about the time that Bruiser Bedlam, with his bare hands, took 10 penny nails and drove them with the sheer power of his punch through a pine board. Bruiser Bedlam is the strongest, the most awesome man in professional wrestling. He is the world's most dangerous wrestler, Dirty White Boy, and he's coming after you, and he's coming after the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight title. And believe you me, White Boy, you may have had a lot of trials and tribulations in the past, but you've never seen anybody that could do anything to you like Bruiser Bedlam can. You think you're a street brawler? Think you're a fighter? Well, you guys are going to go head up like two bulls, and I know who's going to win, because not only does Bruiser Bedlam have all that power, all that strength, all that anger and animosity in his heart, he's also got Jim Cornette managing him. And after all, I'm the smartest man in wrestling, and like I said, I got that anonymous tip, and through my powers of deductive reasoning, I have tracked down the new commissioner of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So, Mr. Cameraman, as a matter of fact, I'll give you a tip later on. You just stay right there, because I'm going to knock on this door, and I'm going to find the new commissioner, and I'm going to get him to see things my way. Hold on here one second. Hello? Hey, Pip Pip and Cheerio and all that sort of rot, old chap. I understand that the new commissioner of Smoky Mountain Wrestling is working here, and I would like to speak to him. This is Sherlock Cornette. This is a funeral home, you idiot.
I wonder if somebody's trying to tell me something. Turn the camera off.
Poor Jimmy. He just wants to find out who the new commissioner is so he can pay them off. And why is Smoky Mountain conspiring against him to let him do this?
Maybe the new commissioner is Paul Bearer.
I was not considering that. I was thinking it might have been Hornswoggle.
Huh.
Yeah. But Sherlock Cornette is on the case. Don't know how well this is going to go for young Jimbo. Um, I I mean, I feel like I know that Bullet Bob is just going to keep being the commissioner, but I don't know. It feels like if it was just going to be continue to be Bob, they just say it and not drag it out like this.
What if they had an anonymous commissioner and he communicated by telegraph?
Maybe maybe he would have been talking via fax, but fucking Horner stole the fax machine. I received a fax from the anonymous Smoky Mountain Commissioner. What was Michael Cole doing? Like, I think he was a real news person at this time. He could have come in to read the pronouncements. But yeah, so I like this because like they re-showed us why Bruiser Bedlam was a badass. You know, we saw him beat Macho Man Randy Savage. We saw all those training videos he did, including when he was holding back, the truck that Killer Kyle was driving into him. You know,
You know what would have really made him look like a badass?
if he had beaten Dirty White Boy 2 weeks ago,
If he had beaten Dirty White Boy 2 weeks ago.
or at least not lost clean. Like,
Yeah.
and, and we'll get to it, but like this whole taping is full of questionable booking decisions. And I'm not blaming Jericho for all of them because Jericho can only change so much fucking shit by injuring his arm.
Jericho screwed up Bruiser Bedlam and the Dirty White Boy. God damn it.
There you go. Jericho was supposed to win the Smoky Mountain title, but because he broke his arm, they needed to do something else with White Boy. Actually, I don't even think that would have been a bad match. White Boy versus Chris Jericho.
That would have been pretty good, yeah.
Even 1994 Chris Jericho.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ask me how I'm putting two and two together to get to this segue, but for some reason, when I was, after I got out of work and I was just meandering through my apartment to go over to my recliner to enjoy my dinner and to watch Smoky Mountain today, I was thinking about the Billy Kidman Hulk Hogan feud from WCW and how Billy Kidman looked like more of a joke than he ever did, before that angle. And it's like, to me, like, and hey, who would have thought that anybody in the world would have a better idea how to do something than Vince Russo, I know. But I was thinking like that was the Nitro where Mike Awesome jumped from ECW and they put him in the fucking ring with Kevin Nash. They found the one guy who, was a foot taller than him to expose how short Mike Awesome really was. But like what would have worked at least better, it still would have elevated Kidman, but the fucking feud didn't elevate him anyway. But you have Billy Kidman go out, be a pretend tough guy. Hulk Hogan comes out, kicks his ass like Hulk Hogan did. And instead of Eric Bischoff being the person that kicked Hulk Hogan's ass, that's when he debuted Mike Awesome and a Mike Awesome kick Hulk Hogan's ass.
That would have been better. You should have had Mike Awesome feud with Hulk Hogan, and then built a feud between Kidman and Kevin Nash over the question of can Kevin Nash powerbomb Kidman.
Oh, geez. The funny thing is, I think Nash would have done a slightly better job of putting over Kidman.
Yes. Yeah.
But what was it? Oh yeah, because like Kidman, like he could be the pussy hiding behind, big bad Mike Awesome, and you could even do it at the end where after the feud ends, after Hogan finally gets his hands on Kidman, and it turns out Kidman isn't as big of a pussy as he been booked as. You have Hogan go out the next night and say, you know what, that Kidman, he's a little asshole, but he's a he stood up for himself. He's this, that, he's the other thing. Even if he pinned him at the end, which he was going to do anyway, it's like, hey, the little asshole was tougher than I thought he was. Because Kidman was going to turn babyface anyway, because he was a much better face than heel. And this way he got the Hulk Hogan stamp of approval, quote unquote.
I we'll be here all day if we talk about all the things that could have been done better in 2000 WCW.
They could have put the world title on Skip Over.
Speaking of 2000 WCW, did you see today that apparently WWE has filed a trademark for career killer?
I did not see that.
Yes, and I was very excited because the implication was that that would go to Gunther, and I cannot wait for Fat Chick Thriller Gunther and that 70s Gunther. I think I
You
broke
broke me.
Arya.
Yep.
uh,
Oh my God, I'm not trying to picture Gunther in a leisure suit. Who would
okay.
be the modern day equivalent of Crowbar?
I don't. I just need them to bring back Elix Skipper to get on the get on that 70s bus and say, "This is my bus. I built this bus."
Even if it pops nobody else, just me and you, I would subscribe to Netflix for a year just for that 5 second clip of Elix Skipper on a bus in modern day WWE saying, "This is my bus." Maybe they could bring back Lance Storm to put the bus over for a change.
Can we bring back Shaggy
Uh,
Two Dope to get power bombed on it again?
oh my God, after watching this fucking TNA run of the Insane Clown Posse, yes, please. I'm sure Shaggy Two Dope and Violent J are very good people. Like I don't think I've ever heard like outside of them just being Shaggy Two Dope and Violent J, I've never heard anything negative about them. But I would still like Shaggy Two Dope to be power bombed off a bus. You know,
Well, yeah, just because
again,
that's a good time.
yes, good times are had by all, even Shaggy Two
Mhm.
Dope because he probably forgets about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Oh, yeah, remember when Chuck Palumbo won the WCW title just to have the get reversed?
I remember the image of him holding the belt for just a second. Was it Booker T?
Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
think it was like Nash had turned heel because Nash and Booker were friends, which, of course he knew how that was gonna end. And then that was when Nash ended up hooking up with the Natural Born Thrillers. And I'm sure he's the one that helped Palumbo win. And then the cat came down and much like how Mike Tenay got really mad for like the 100th time interference ended a wrestling match in TNA. This was the time the cat decided, you know what? We've had interference in 6,000 matches this year. This was one too many.
I remember that heel turn by Nash because he did a promo and he said something to the effect of, I pretend to be a good guy every few months so you people will buy my merchandise. And then, like, what, 2 months after that, he was a babyface again?
More or less. Yeah. And then WCW ended before he could turn heel again.
Yeah.
Um, what was I thinking of? I don't remember what I was thinking of, but whatever I was thinking of, I'm sure was very good. You know,
I don't
very,
doubt it.
very good. Oh, by the way, Terry Funk's going to be on TNA next week.
All right.
Yeah. You could even watch it. You don't have to actually do the show, but you could actually watch it. He's teaming with the Sandman to take on Punk and Julio.
Shout out to my Twitter circle because just with no context, earlier today, just because I had watched a particular promo on YouTube, I posted with no context. Terry Funk ain't wearing no damn mouthpiece, and it got a lot of likes, so people know what's up.
Where did that come from?
Have you never seen that Briscoes promo?
Oh, I have, but I did. There was a reason for this.
I was just on YouTube and like saw it. I'm like, I love that promo. Let me watch it, and then I just, yeah.
Uh, there's oh God, yes. I'm scrolling your Twitter now, and I saw your retweet of there's nothing in the world more morally reprehensible than people who upload WWE 2K footage under the guise of it being match footage by the title and thumbnail.
Uh-huh.
That fucking pisses me off so much.
It's the worst, and you're a bad person if you do that. But I will say every now and then I am looking for a particular match graphic, and that's the only place I can find it.
WCW would have taken the Saudi deal and still managed to lose money on it.
I
You
was pretty proud of that quip too.
that was good. I need to watch myself because when people follow me on Twitter, I try to follow them back. But when I go on your page and it's just you retweeting 8 million other people, I'm like, why don't I just follow those people instead? And I feel if I keep retweeting you at the rate I'm going today, people may see me and think the same way. Like, why follow Arya when I can just follow this Trae guy?
Just means you have good taste. It recommends you well.
There you go. All right, so we got a Rock and Roll Express Gangsters video, and here I was thinking that we were going to be having a short show because we're almost done the damn episode, but then I came through in the clutch to take us off in another direction. Um, and that leads us to our main event, which are the Smoky Mountain Tag Team Champions, the Rock and Roll Express, versus the Gangsters, and with their posse in the corner. And they had a lot of time for this match too. Like it started with like 14 minutes left in the show.
Mm-hmm. They went 8 minutes, which I think might have been longer than every other Gangstas match so far put together.
That's what I put down for that too. Now they didn't say this at all the rest of the show, and it's possible that when they recorded it, it wasn't the plan. But during Ricky and Robert's entrance, they did tell us that this was, in fact, a title match.
Yeah, they did. I was kind of confused about that. But hey, it's if they announce it as a title match, I consider it a title match.
As do I. Even if Brian Matthews did not announce it, showing that he's a poor ring announcer. So, Trae, I don't want to alarm you. And, this is one of those times I make sure not to tweet you or Facebook you during the day because I don't know if you're sitting down or not, and I don't want you to fall over by telling you these things. But Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson are better at professional wrestling than New Jack and Mustafa Saeed.
See, when you started telling me that you were going to shock me, I thought you were going to say that they got the heat on Ricky Morton.
Well, that comes up too. They get the heat on Ricky Morton, shock of all shocks. Robert gets the hot tag and pin Mustafa with a sunset flip with help from a Morton dropkick.
Okay, now I realized I have criticized multiple times the Dirty White Boy beating Bruiser Bedlam, but I'm going to defend this because this made some degree of sense. See, the whole deal. What?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
We're going to say the same thing, I guarantee. Go ahead.
What? The Rock and Roll Express beat the Gangstas wrestling. Yep. Now they're going to have to ramp up the violence from there. And the fact that the Gangstas were poor sports and attacked the Rock and Roll Express with weapons after the match, that is going to oblige the Rock and Roll Express to agree to future title matches and matches that will be more advantageous to the Gangstas.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wrote. The Rock and Roll Express had a professional wrestling match with the Gangstas, and the Gangstas lost. And also, it's like, there's a few things about this too. Like I was watching, I'm like, you could tell that in real life, the Gangstas had a ton of respect for the Rock and Roll Express just by the way they worked this match. And like also, like it went 8 minutes, which was like 6 minutes longer than their average match. So like they had to slow down a little bit, but it wasn't like they had to, they could have still done their style in an 8-minute match. Like I noticed it, especially when New Jack was choking Ricky Morton on the ropes. It's like Ricky Morton could have fallen asleep with how much New Jack was choking him and never been hurt.
Yeah. And New Jack has always spoken very highly of Ricky and Robert.
Yeah. I wrote basically what you wrote. This was the perfect representation of both teams. The Gangsters are not wrestlers. They're not going to win a wrestling match, but when the match broke down into a street fight, they have the advantage. And I did have to laugh because they did in a roundabout way. They mentioned the L.A. riot, specifically that one scene of the trucker guy that the four black guys pulled out of his truck and beat the shit out of. And that's more or less what they were doing here with Ricky Morton at the end after they threw Gibson out of the ring.
Yeah,
Um,
which I don't know what happened. I guess the Rock and Roll Express doesn't have any friends anymore because they got their asses beat for several minutes and nobody came out.
Nobody dared run in for the save, is how I put it. Like no
Well, baby.
Tracy, no Bullet Bob. Scott and Steve are nowhere to be seen. Lance didn't run out. Jericho and his broken arm didn't run out. The job crew didn't run out. Nobody dared to run out for the save.
I guess that's it then.
All right. Let's go to a show-ending promo by the Gangstas, and I'm just going to say ahead of time, 0 notes, no feedback at all here for young New Jack. But let's go to New Jack right now, who's going to end the show.
All right, fans, let's get them over here. They are right now, the Gangstas, Mustafa and New Jack. What a display of clear brutality up there.
2 wrongs don't make a right, but it damn sure make us equal. Rock and Roll Express, we setting the tone for what's gonna happen in the days to come if you make it that far. I told you, I was not the one to be played with, boy. I told you that sooner or later I would get you. I told you, true enough, you might beat us wrestling, but fighting, you can't do it. I'm a bad man. I'm the only bad man. And this is just the beginning. This is the beginning of a whole lot of lumps upside the head, you understand? This is the beginning of a whole lot of trips to the hospital. This is the beginning of you seeing what messing with somebody from South Central would happen to you. Rock and roll, keep this in mind. We the wrong niggas to mess with, Daddy. The wrong niggas, and don't you ever forget it.
All right, fans, I think we've heard enough.
All right, Trae, do you want to transcribe that promo for us?
It makes me regret that we don't have episode titles on this show.
Oh, really? What Trae would you like for me to have the episode title for this week's show to be?
I don't think the Stevie J would let us get away with it.
Considering I had to change the title of Tuesday's show, I sincerely doubt it.
What was the title of Tuesday's show?
Gary Hart's Final Solution.
Oh. New Jack, 10 out of 10, 100%.
Mm-hmm. No notes, no feedback.
No.
I don't know what to tell you. Like suddenly, there's a reason why WWE never put up, the whole run of Smoky Mountain up on the network.
You think that's why?
How do you edit around New Jack?
I wouldn't dare.
Nope. Because, like let's say they edited out New Jack's more choice words. You'd still be editing out quite a bit of New Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, lordy, lordy. Next week, by the way, they didn't say this, but we got a graphic. Bruiser Bedlam and Killer Kyle versus Bullet Bob and Tracy Smothers. That sounds like a Lulu.
That does sound like a Lulu.
Yep. And hey, it makes sense now as to why Bullet Bob was dressed to wrestle 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he's a very proactive man.
Yes. I have to give credit to all those Fan Week fans. Fan Week was a month ago, and they're still here.
Yeah, very dedicated fans.
It reminds me when, remember when they did a month of NXT at Access WrestleMania weekend the one year, and it's like we're in May and we're still doing shows from WrestleMania Access.
Yeah.
I actually, I pretty much knew what the result was going to be because they announced well ahead of time that they were going to be taping NXT, and so it sold out pretty quickly. And so the day of, like, I went there because I had nothing better to do, and I'm like, I'm not going to get in, but let me give it a shot because I'm one person. They might make an exception or squeeze an extra person in there. And no, there were zero tickets. There wasn't even anybody outside, like, scalping tickets. So it's like, oh, but that's actually that was the time I'm 99% sure that was the show where I tried to go to. That outside there was the priest or the guy screaming about how we're all going to hell because we go to wrestling, and then he talked about how he was a fan during the Attitude Era, and it's like, so you were a fan during the most R-rated wrestling ever, but your complaint is about wrestling nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that.
You broke up there. What was that?
I said I don't know what to make of that argument.
Yep. Anyway, 136 down, 64 to go. We are officially, what is that, 68% of the way through Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
I
By
believe
the
you.
way, before we end the series, before we get to 200 down, 0 to go, I got to explain where that came from. The 136 down, 64 to go thing I do every week.
Did that come from somewhere? I thought that was just a standard thing.
It's a reference to something. And I
Okay.
doubt anybody listening to this will get like the reference, or even after I say it, you're like, oh, really? But we'll save it until like episode 199 or something.
Well, okay. That's the way to keep the people listening.
Exactly. This is, typically our most listened to weekly show. Except for
Yeah,
when we do a spot show. But
and we have a spot show coming tomorrow.
yeah, tomorrow, the Heart Attack Tour, Jacques Rougeau's retirement.
Yeah.
Before his next 100 matches.
I'm not saying this is a good show, but I'm saying it might be entertaining because I start off with the buzz and I get progressively drunker as we go.
But it's not like it's not a Brian and Vinny Christmas show where he's slurring his words and you can't understand half of what he's saying. It's like, if he didn't tell you he was drunk, you probably couldn't tell he was drunk. Let's say that.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry to let you down there.
See, because I remember like there was something that I tried to say and it took me like 3 tries to get it right, and I think I still got it wrong.
Well, I mean, I guess we did this before the TNA show, but my bar for stuff was pretty low this week after the TNA show.
We did in fact do it in the gap that you had before you were going to do the TNA show.
Yep. Yeah, if you ever want to hear me get really pissed off without actually saying something, go to like 40 minutes into the TNA show yesterday.
Okay.
That's when I got pissed off. Because you might be able to tell I still have a cold. It's not as bad as it was, but I'm still muting myself every couple of minutes so I could hack up a lung. And well, with that in mind, I tried to get Cindy to take over a lot of the actual talk. And well, Cindy is easily distracted. And
Oh.
But yeah, that was the Wednesday show. Go listen to it, people. It was one for the ages.
Go listen.
Yeah. So before we finish things up, we'd like to tell you what else is happening in the world of wrestling. And we do have to start off with some sad news. Remember a month ago when we talked about how Smoky Mountain reached out to the Great Malenko for Night of the Legends, but he was in hospice care?
Yeah.
The Great Malenko passed away on September 1st after a 4-month battle with leukemia. And in addition to being a legendary wrestler, he was a hell of a trainer too. Like, you may not realize the list of people he trained. Now, I'm going to give you this list, and if you're someone who bases success based on win-loss records, a lot of this is going to be like, oh, that guy's a jobber, that guy's a loser. But if you pay attention more than just that, you'll see there's a lot of quality people be trained by him. Mark Merrow, Sean Waltman, Paul Diamond, Typhoon, Chris Champion, Barry Horowitz, Al Perez, of course his sons Joe and Dean Malenko, Timothy Well, Bobby Blaze, Ricky Santana, and Nature Boy Buddy Landell are just some of the people he trained. And that's a pretty goddamn good list of people right there.
Also, All Japan women's wrestling legend Debbie Malenko, who was no relation but was permitted to use the name by the family.
Yep. I was actually always wondering that if she was related to them.
Same with Carl Malenko of Battle Arts and early 2000s All Japan fame, who I believe is about to make a comeback for a Death Valley Driver video review themed action wrestling card.
I was unaware of Carl Malenko.
Guys, yeah.
How is he? Like, how is he as a wrestler?
I have not seen any Battle Arts, and I may have seen him in some early 2000s All Japan, but I don't remember. But people whose opinions that I respect say he was quite excellent.
Nice. All right. Now, this is going to be like one of those obvious things, especially nowadays, but the NWA officially announced that the ECW NWA title tournament is null and void, and Shane Douglas is stripped of any recognition as a former NWA champion. And then Shane and Paul Heyman probably should have talked, because they both did a bunch of radio interviews this week. Shane appeared on both Mike Tenay's show and John Arezzi's show, and Paul Heyman appeared on John Arezzi's show with two conflicting reports as to what happened. Shane Douglas said that this was all on him. He came up with it while in the ring, and it was a complete spur of the moment thing. And Paul Heyman more or less told the truth. It's Paul Heyman, so more or less is, more or less the truth.
He told his truth. Isn't that what toxic Zennials say, their truth? They told.
Well, it's truer than Shane Douglas stood in the ring and, did it, spur of the moment. Like, I believe Shane later said, and this seems like more of a real story, that it's like Paul Heyman basically left it up to him whether or not to do it.
Yeah. Well, if he hadn't done it, it wouldn't have been done.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we mentioned this. It's like, if like ECW was not ECW yet, like this definitely helped put them on the map. But it's like, if this would have blown up in Shane's face, I mean, there's a chance that could have been very negative on his career.
I don't think anybody cared that much about the NWA in 1994.
I don't know. There's the part of me that says no, but there's a part of me that also goes, yeah, but it's like, would promoters really trust to give him a push and to put their belts on him if he's gonna do something like that kind of thing?
Well, I guess we'll never know, because it worked.
And that, yep. Congrats to Shane Douglas. It worked. All right. So I was kind of like going deep into the Observer this week for the third thing. I was thinking that the third thing was going to be telling you the card for When Worlds Collide in 2 months. But I found a better third thing. To quote Dave, TCI of South Maine, the cable company in Bidford, Maine, accidentally aired an adult movie in place of SummerSlam. Even though only 30 or 40 homes in the cable system had ordered SummerSlam, the company received about 300 complaining phone calls. The funniest thing in a newspaper article about the incident was the caller who said his two children, aged 8 and 11, watched the movie for 15 minutes before they realized it wasn't the wrestling show. I'm not sure if those kids need to be watching more wrestling or less wrestling if it took them that long to realize they weren't watching SummerSlam.
And I thought you were naive as a child.
I probably would have picked up on the fact that a porno was not SummerSlam.
I would hope so.
I say probably because,
Now,
it's still me at the end of the day.
just for the sake of the historical record, did Dave say what the film was called?
Not that I saw, no.
Too
He also
bad.
didn't rate it. So
Well, he's not on that cable system.
that's true. I wonder if it would have had a better rating than Undertaker versus Undertaker.
I would think it would have to, wouldn't
Uh, Possibly. I mean, the acting may have been better.
it?
Oh, God. I was gonna say, I wonder if it was a straight porno or a gay porno, but it's 1994, so it was a straight porno.
They had
Um,
gay porn in 1994, I bet.
I
Just a
know,
little
but it's
harder.
like they
It's
weren't.
a little harder to find. Maybe you couldn't find it on the cable system. Maybe you had to go to
Yeah,
a shop for that.
yeah. Sorry, man. Like it was gonna be on pay-per-view porn, at least at 7 o'clock Eastern time. 'Cause, yeah, that was back in the day when pay-per-view aired at 7 p.m. Eastern. I guess now it's back to like I don't even know. Is there even a regular time for pay-per-view anymore? Because like, I think part of it too is like they fucking air them all over the goddamn world now. So it's like any goddamn time is normal time for pay-per-view.
Uh, yeah, I don't know what time WWE puts pay-per-views on because I haven't watched one in a while. Um, AEW, unless they're either 2 p.m. or fucking 7 p.m. Central.
I was gonna say yeah, it's usually 8 p.m. over here.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's like I think WrestleMania started at 7, but I don't know if that's necessarily the regular start time. Like one of the pay-per-views, I don't know which one, but one of them aired at 6 because they wanted to air from 6 to 9, have the post-show press conference, and have the press conference end when the UFC show started at 10.
Yeah, well, they've been trying to do that kind of thing a lot since they've been under the same umbrella.
And it's funny, like, especially if you go into those 2000s observers, especially in reading like interviews with Vince McMahon talking about UFC and interviews with Dana White talking about WWE. It's like the nicest thing Dana White ever would say was that he wanted to be as good of a promoter as Vince McMahon.
That's pretty fair.
Yeah. But it's like, Vince was constantly putting down UFC and it's hilarious. And yeah, but I guess whatever. Money talks, my friends. And that's what the shareholders suing Vince would like to know more about. How much money talked.
Quite a
You
lot.
ever think Vince, like, even before this, how much do you think Vince wishes that he never would have went public?
Uh, I bet he did a lot at times. I don't know. Like, I wonder. I wonder how he's dealing with being because what he's 80 now, right? He turned 80 last August.
Something like that, yeah.
I wonder how he's dealing with his mortality.
I think he's having a late life, midlife crisis.
He seems very much like the he who has the most toys when he dies wins type. And
And even that's like when he dies, he's gonna be like, I didn't have enough toys.
and we know what kind of toys he has and how he names them.
That is definitely like one of those things where it's like, I did not
Yeah.
need to know that.
Yeah.
Oh God. Can you imagine like, like if you were Big E and you found out that Vince McMahon named one of his sex toys after you?
Yeah.
By the way, Joe Hendry is apparently out of the NXT title ladder match. Well, okay, maybe. Ava says that Joe Hendry isn't cleared. Jackson Drake, whoever the fuck that is in the NXT Championship ladder match. However, if Joe Hendry is able to compete next week, he'll be in the match as well.
Okay. Great news.
That the point is we're having an extra person in the ladder match next week for the NXT title,
Seems very necessary.
apparently. Also, Finn Balor is apparently not going to be in the Royal Rumble because it was full. The Royal Rumble was full. Keep in mind the Royal Rumble is typically filled with about 14 people who weren't announced in advance, but somehow we could not squeeze Finn Balor into that 30-man Royal Rumble.
So Finn Balor needs to beat up Akira Tozawa.
Yes, but apparently he beat up CM Punk at the end of Raw on Monday after CM Punk's first time ever match against AJ Styles. And before the two listeners complain about me saying that, it's a thing. Go on Twitter.
It is a thing. I can't confirm.
Yes, Finn Balor attacked Punk at the end of Raw, theoretically setting up a world title match that, to the best of my knowledge, has not been announced yet.
Didn't they have a world title match on TV last week?
If not last week, then the week before, yes. Now, in case you're curious, why the hell is he getting another world title match? Well, you see, the Royal Rumble match was full, and he needed something to do in Saudi Arabia.
I would just take the win of not going to Saudi Arabia.
Apparently, Finn and Punk both don't agree with that sentiment.
Well, we know how much Punk loves Saudi Arabia.
I mean, Sami Zayn is challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE title.
Probably be good. I won't watch it, but it'll probably be good.
Yeah. And there'll be another match.
One other exciting match?
Yes, I don't remember what it is, but there is one other match.
How about that?
Because that Punk Balor match is not official. But you have the men's rumble, the women's rumble. AJ Styles versus Gunther for AJ's career.
No, that sounds like a Lulu.
I bet that will be a Lulu. Here are the entrants, and I've already said I think Gunther is winning the Rumble. Here are the 15 people currently entered into the Men's Royal Rumble, which again was already too full for Finn Balor. We have Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Jey Uso, Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, Penta, Roman Reigns, Solo, Jacob Fatu, Braun Breaker, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, Austin Theory, Javon Evans, and Oba Femi.
Those are names.
Yep. Out of those 15, who do you think has the best chance of winning?
Dragon Lee. He's going all the way.
It's funny because last year, did you watch last year's Rumble?
I think so.
Well, it started with Rey and Penta, and Penta fucked up and got eliminated 30 seconds in, but they didn't count it because I don't know why. Because like when it happened and they didn't call him being eliminated, I'm like, oh, Penta's winning. Because why wouldn't they just call it? Because every time Kofi has fucked up his elimination, they've called it as a shoot and told him he was out. Poor Kofi, he stopped doing that because he kept fucking them up.
Yes. Who won last year?
Jey Uso.
I think I watched that, but I think it did make an impression.
Which pissed so many people off because Cena didn't win. And I still contend, no matter how good or bad that Jey Uso run was, and I don't blame Jey Uso for that. He was booked poorly after he won the Rumble. It's like they regretted it the moment he won. But whatchamacallit, if Cena would have won, I still contend to this day the same people bitching about Jey Uso winning would have bitched because, oh, Cena wins, not putting over a new guy, yada, yada, yada. And I would
Maybe
list the people. I would list the people who are in the women's rumble, but I mean, I'm sorry, it's the women's Royal Rumble. It's every fucking woman who's on the roster. You know, and
several
I
of
would say,
whom are assuming that a lot of the women who were on NXT the last time I watched it have been called up. A lot of those women are interchangeable.
yeah. I mean, there's 17 officially announced, and I'm gonna bet if I pulled up the WWE roster, there's at least 13 people who are not the women's champions who are not in the Rumble yet, and they will fill out those 30 spots. It's like, it's funny because like, and I said this, and I've said this for years. It's like it's harder to get into WWE as a woman than a man, obviously, because there's fewer spots. But once you're in, unless you fuck up royally, it is next to impossible to not be kept on forever because they always need 30 people for the Rumble. They always need 8 people for Money in the Bank. They always need like everything. So it's like if you're a woman in WWE, you're going to be there until you fuck up royally.
Indeed. I can't wait to see their. I can't wait to see 30 bodysuits.
And apparently Maxine Dupree was announced on something called a shot of Brandi. Was Brandi Rhodes on Raw or something? Like, who the hell else would have a thing called a shot of Brandi?
It's probably a like an internet show.
Possibly. But I mean, if you had to take a wild guess, who do you think wins the Women's Royal Rumble? And the funny thing is, I don't
Becky
even know
Lynch.
we talked about this, a few weeks ago, who the women's champions were. I don't even fucking remember who the hell they are now. I would have guessed it was either Rhea Ripley or Io Sky, but they're both in the Rumble, which I guess doesn't mean anything because Charlotte Flair was in it a couple times when she was champion. But yeah, I don't know. I I want to say AJ, even though I cannot imagine, AJ wearing her Daisy Dukes would need to wear long jeans in order to compete in the Rumble in Saudi Arabia. But
She's probably going to be in
I
it
don't.
though. Well, wouldn't the assumption be that she's going to wrestle Becky Lynch at WrestleMania?
Well, then why would you pick Becky Lynch to win the Rumble?
Because she's the only person who I know was in it. Because I saw
Oh,
like a
okay.
clip scrolling Twitter.
Well, I told you Maxine Dupree was in the Rumble. You're not picking Maxine Dupree?
Maxine Dupree is going to win the 2026 Royal Rumble.
There you go. I don't know. It's like again, maybe if I actually cared enough to know who the women's champion was, I could figure it out from there. But
I think
I'm
one of
going to
them. I think one of them is Jade Cargill.
maybe. I'm going to go with Jordan Grace.
All right, that'd be a fine choice.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because ultimately, like, and I'm sorry, it doesn't really matter who wins the Women's Royal Rumble.
you might
Like,
even fuck up and create something moderately interesting if you set up Jordan Grace and Jade Cargill.
yeah, the match would probably suck, but, it is what it is.
Jordan Grace is very good. Look, I don't know. I haven't heard anything all that complimentary, but when Jade Cargill was in AEW, I thought that she worked really hard and had some very good matches.
To me, there's a reason why all of her matches, for the most part, were 2 minutes. You
But
know,
like there were some pay-per-views that she had very good matches. So she is capable of being led through something.
I don't remember those matches. I will take your word for it, but I do not remember those matches. Um, I remember. I wish I could tell you who the hell she wrestled because now I'm blanking. But I was at a Battle of the Belts where she took on somebody, and the match went through a commercial break. So live it went like 7 minutes, and it's like this is why Jade Cargill wrestles for 2 minutes.
You remember her
Why does AEW?
debut on AEW?
Yes, it was when she teamed with Shaq to take on Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet. Or are you talking about when she debuted to? I think didn't she slap Brandi or something?
Yeah, she came out bitching at Cody, and then Uh, Brandi came out and they had a very ratchet exchange.
Brandi was like, I'm sorry. I still say Brandi is like 90% of the reason why people turned on Cody.
You think so?
I do. She was so unlikable.
Is this because of the Nightmare Collective?
Honestly, I don't know why that stopped being a thing so fucking quickly. That was probably the best thing she did because I'm sorry, Brandi Rhodes did a great job of portraying a bitch. And, you know, that was like the only time she was a heel.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I'm sure, like I said earlier with Violent J and Shaggy Two Dope, I'm sure Brandi Rhodes is a very nice young lady.
Don't doubt it.
But on TV, she's very unlikable.
That's fair.
All right. Well, hey, we managed to, stretch this show out to almost 90 minutes. So that's a feather in our cap.
Good for us.
All right. So I think we'll wrap things up from here. Tomorrow, Friday Night Spot Show. Take a listen as long as we don't get copyrighted to hell on that one. And if we do, wait till Sunday and take a listen then. It'll be great. But that's going to do it for this week's show. Trae, anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
I think I've said enough. Have a good rest of the week and weekend, listeners.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.